Hello everyone! Welcome back to my weekly retro horoscope. My name's Colleen, I'm a traditional astrology student, and in this video I will be looking back at the transits from last week, talking about the lessons we were supposed to learn from the cosmos, what happened to me personally, and how I can see that reflecting in the chart. And I'm also going to give some advice on how to use different zodiacal lunar transits. For example, what's the best thing to do when the moon is in Virgo versus Cancer versus Pisces, blah, blah, blah. Obviously, we'll only talk about this week, but I had a question about that recently, so I figured I'd throw it into this video. And I think I'm in tune with the moon. That rhymes. But if you have any other advice for what you do when the moon is in, let's say Leo, for example, feel free to comment below or message me or anything like that, you know? We have humility here, we are learning things, we make mistakes, we have 15 viewers weekly, but that's okay, we all start from somewhere. So let's get into it. We're gonna start with Sunday, January 16th, so last Sunday. We had the Sun conjunct Pluto, ugh, yeesh, and the Moon opposite Venus retrograde. So in glyph form, we have the Moon, and then right here we have Sun and Pluto. Oh, let's see. Sunday for me was actually a fantastic day. On this day, I had an astrology consultation that went very well. It was pretty intense though, Sun conjunct Pluto. At the same time, when the moon is opposite Venus, especially when it's retrograde, it's sort of a check-in with what we are doing to nurture ourselves, which is the moon, and how that's really aligning with our values. So are we being nurtured in a way that we value? Or are we shifting our values so we are nurtured in a way that we're able to show up with our cup full, you know? Like there's always that, I was a teacher before, and there's always that metaphor of like you can't fill up other people's cups if yours isn't filled up. So what are you doing to fill up your cup? I think during this full moon, it was a big check-in point. Are you running on empty? Are you filling everyone else's cup up and not really thinking about your own? Because if you are, stop. First of all, and second of all, that's not sustainable, you know? Like, you're in this life for you, and you only have you at the end of the day. Your relationship with you is what is the foundation of your relationship with everyone. And if you're not focusing on what you need to come to this life and do what you need to do, because we all have a greater purpose here, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, things aren't going to go very well for very long. So when the moon is in Cancer, I would highly suggest really getting in tune with your emotions. This is the time to think about, journal, talk to someone, whatever it is, about what you're feeling. Because it's going to be the easiest time for you to sort of parse through why you're feeling what you're feeling. Albeit, you know, Mercury is still retrograde, so maybe like it'll take 15 times to come out exactly the way you mean it or whatever. Doing it in a safe space shouldn't really matter with the Mercury retrograde, but I would say Sunday, with the Sun conjunct Pluto, Pluto represents transformation, intensity, just like a real sense of change in a way that's completely out of your control. So how have you changed your nurturing to yourself? What are you doing to make sure that's aligning with your values? Those are the questions I think were very prominent on Sunday. Oh my God. And you know, astrology can be so literal sometimes. So one of the reasons I'm really like happy I finally started doing these YouTube videos is because I'll be able to look back and not only see my growth and like maybe cringe a little bit at some of the things I say, but also just see what was going on in my life at that time. So then my transit tracking skills will be like, I don't know, untouchable, basically. But anyway, okay, tangent, sorry, I'm Sagittarius Mercury. What I was going to say about that was, on Sunday, at least I'm pretty sure it was Sunday, let me check my journal just to be sure. So, what I was going to say was actually on Monday, so let's move to Monday. So, all in all, when the moon is in Cancer, which it still will be for a little bit on Monday, check in with your emotions, tune into your feelings. with the sun on top of it, Pluto, how are you transforming your relationship to your feelings and your values so they are in sync? Are they in sync? Are you scared of something? Are you scared of meeting your own needs? Because Pluto also represents fears. So maybe this day you had some fears come to the surface regarding your emotion and your values and how you're actually showing up to the plate or not. So, all right, let's move forward. Monday. Okay, the thing I was going to share that's so literal with astrology. I watched the ickiest little movie ever on Monday, but it was perfect for the sun still being on top of Pluto during this full moon. So let's move this a few more hours to make it so this is exact. So we got, okay, perfect. Sun, or this is the moon, opposite the sun, 27 degrees. Okay, so on Monday, during this stupid little full moon in Cancer, where the sun is on top of Pluto, which represents transformation, I watched this movie called Fly, or like, honestly, I don't really know what it was called, but it was about this man that slowly turns into a fly. And it was really intense, and I thought it was a perfect representation of the sun, moon, the full moon in Cancer. I thought it was a perfect representation of the full moon in Cancer on top of Pluto, because sometimes the transformations we have to go through aren't pretty. They're not fun, they're not cute, and they're not enjoyable, and that's okay. Not everything in life has to be good, pretty, sun sign, unicorns, whatever. Like, sometimes we go through hard shit, and the hard shit that we go through brings us through to the other side with a new perspective, a thickened skin, and a new objective, you know? So, that movie, I had a hard time watching, just because I don't like icky, like, grotesque, like, or not even grotesque, like, I don't like skin, like, peeling off, and, like, people's, like, eyeballs coming out of their face. Ugh! Like, I'm all in for, like, a psychological thriller and stuff like that, but, like, well, like, no, just not that. So, either way, it's, like, a really good representation for the energy that we got from that full moon, where you kind of have to be real with yourself, and you gotta look at yourself, whether you're turning into a fly or not, and say, okay, like, do I need to peel away this part of me? Is this part of me not serving me anymore? What do I need to shed? Who's my new identity? Who am I? Why am I? What am I? Like, this full moon opposite Pluto, it's been, so the last time the new moon happened in Cancer was July 9th. So maybe around that time you set some intentions about who you are, and, you know, look to where Cancer falls in your chart to be more specific about what topics of your life this may have been emerging in, because if it's in an angular house, like if you're a Cancer, Capricorn, Aries, Libra rising, it's going to be way more prominent, versus other signs less so, just because those houses have less to do with the native and more to do with people they're around or the world. So anyway, all that to say, transformation isn't always pretty. Sometimes you have to look in the mirror and see something you don't like, and you have to do something about it. Because at the end of the day, you're the only person that can make you the you that you want to be. You know what I mean? Like, the full moon in Cancer, some people are going to say it's like crybaby energy because they don't know shit about astrology and they just want to generalize. But it's not. Like, Cancer is still a cardinal sign. And tears are, like, powerful, right? Like, as somebody that has their moon in their 12th house, it's taken me a while to really come to the terms of, like, being vulnerable with my emotions and expressing them. Now I might even be at a point where I'm too vulnerable with my emotions, but, you know, we'll reflect on that on another day, I guess. Either way, tears are powerful. Tears soften the soil so that you can grow and build a beautiful garden, you know, metaphorically so to speak. And when you use those tears in a way that does stimulate growth, you are in such a better place than if, let's say the moon was in Aquarius, for example, and it's dry and cold and the soil is crunchy and nothing can grow from there because you're not letting those feelings come out and be expressed in a way that will be dynamic, you know? So I really liked Monday and Sunday. I thought that full moon in Cancer, I love it when the moon's in Cancer, because I usually connect with people. It's my 7th house, and I usually have a chance to really talk about what's been bothering me so much. And on top of Pluto, like, shit's serious, shit's intense, shit's transformative. And if you haven't noticed, like that's a theme that's not really going to go away until later into 2022. Things are going to stay pretty serious and transformative for a while. But that's okay, because when things are challenging, that's when you put in the hard work and you can celebrate later when it's summer and the sun is shining. Okay. So beyond that, if we move this forward a little bit, the moon will go into Leo pretty late, yeah. So pretty much into Tuesday. And when the moon goes into Leo, I think a few things are really cool to do. The moon's in Leo. Personally, I really enjoy fire moon transits for doing things that are active. Like, not to say like I need to like run around and stuff like that, but just like moving my body. Like when the moon is in a fire sign, I often listen to music very loudly and just like chaotically like roller skate around my house, dance around my house, go for a walk and like kind of get lost a little bit, except for when it's like -16 degrees out, then I do not do that. But moon in Leo, depending on what house it's in for you, could give you more or less energy. If it's an angular house, more. So like if you're a Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus rising, it's going to give you more energy. It's going to be hitting your angles. So you might have, depending on what house it's in, more topics related to that sort of come to light. I mean, I don't know, other things for the Leo moon. Anything like creative actually would be really nice. Let's see, what did I actually do this day? Tuesday. Oh, Tuesday I wrote a poem. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I wrote a really nice poem this day. So doing things creatively, I really enjoy too. Leo is all about like creative expression. So embrace that part of you when the moon goes into Leo. All right, let's talk about the rest of Tuesday. So beyond that, we have the moon opposite Mercury. So we've got, oh yeah, exactly, right here, 8 degree, the moon, opposite Mercury right here. We also have moon square Uranus. This was to say opposing Saturn, I think. So we got moon square Uranus right here. So we can move it a little bit further and it would be at 10 degrees squaring it. Right here, moon square Uranus. And then, oh, nodal shift, baby. Oh, and then also, yeah, opposite Saturn right here. But nodal shift, baby. Oh my God. Okay, I'm so excited to talk about this. So let's go in order. I'll try to do things linearly for all of the people who don't have a Sagittarius Mercury. But moon opposite Mercury. I mean, same with the moon in Cancer being a good time to express your feelings. When the moon is in Leo, Leo is all about creative expression. So maybe if you didn't have a chance to like sensually, emotionally express your feelings, maybe in an intimate setting with like a partner or a friend, this is a time where creatively you can express your feelings through songs, through dance, through whatever lights the fire in your belly and makes you feel like you're not just here to like take in the world, but be a part of contributing to the world, you know? So moon opposite Mercury also being retrograde, maybe we're starting to rethink our creative expressions. Maybe you had a moment on this day where you sort of had a moment, I mean, again, depending on where this falls in your chart, right, we'll give more context, but perhaps Mercury opposite the moon really helped you think about how am I expressing my ideas, my beliefs, my theories, although that's more of a Jupiter thing. But I think Leo is also, it's such an expanding sign that, not to say it like in the way that, because that's more of a Sagittarius thing as well to expand, but I don't know, being a fire sign, being a fixed fire sign opposite a fixed earth sign, I guess it's more about like, okay, we're taking our emotions, our creative expressions, our thoughts and ideas, like how are we actually meeting that? How are we balancing that? How are we putting in the work to make what we want to happen a reality? So move on from that. Moon square Uranus, opposite Saturn. So Uranus and Saturn are really slow moving planets. So every time the moon goes into Leo, this is going to happen. So it's nothing new. It's been happening. If you are a fixed rising sign, so if you are a Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, or Scorpio rising sign, man, are you okay? Like, not only has these two slow-moving planets been in your angular houses, but now we also have the node shifting into your house if you're a Taurus or Scorpio rising. And, yeah. Whew. If you want to book a reading and you're a fixed rising sign, I'll give you like 15% off because you need it, man. But anyway, with the moon being in Leo and making this square in opposition again, I really think it's really challenging us to, like, first of all, be grounded, like Saturn, like be realistic, Saturn words, but also balancing that, like, realistic, like, harsh sort of, like, we need to be in the now, and yes, creativity and expansion is fun, but, like, how are we doing that in a way that's dynamic, Uranus, that's innovative, that's interesting, that's not what's everyone else is doing? And, you know, as somebody that's a content creator, this is something that I have been thinking a lot about, because, like, I have Aquarius placements, so although I'm not, like, a rising sign, a fixed rising sign, I do have a lot of planets that are being affected by these transits in fixed signs. So I want to create things that are interesting and creative, and I don't want to just add to the noise. And that's really what I felt like I was doing on Instagram, making posts. So that's why I moved here to YouTube, because I think I'm a very passionate person when I talk, and I can captivate people much more easily when I can talk 5 million miles a minute, you know? And, like, show people how excited I can get and how much I know about it, rather than just, like, get a colorful pink backdrop and a cute font and whatever, you know? So Moon opposite Saturn, we have to be realistic about our emotions. We have to channel them in a way that's grounded in reality, but at the same time, like, it's okay to be innovative about the way we feel. It's okay if there's some type of contention between what you're doing creatively and how maybe other people are taking that in the world, maybe how other people are perceiving it. You don't have to give a shit about what other people think. You don't have to give a shit about, is this how everyone else is doing it? Saturn wants to be somebody that fits in. Saturn is someone that doesn't fit in and is, like, sort of outcasted, given the cold shoulder, if you will. And when the moon is opposite Saturn, we feel like that outcast to some degree. And I guarantee Leos do not like to be outcasted. So maybe this transit is also about, how are you thinking about where you can fit into the world in a unique way? Not in the way that you've always imagined. You can't fit into other people's ideals. It doesn't work. So, especially if, like I said, you are a fixed rising sign, this might be a very pertinent topic for you. You might be feeling very confused about where you fit in the world, why you fit in the world, what your purpose is, and, like, holding space for all fixed risings, because, like, lots of transformations happening, and you might think you want to just skip to the easy part, but that's not worth it. You can only appreciate good things by going through hard things, so just stick with it, okay? All right, let's talk about the nodes. Nodes, okay. So this is the North Node. The North Node represents what we're moving towards, what's expanding in our lives right now, what's the lesson that we're focused on for the next year and a half as they transit through the sign. And then the South Node is what we're releasing, what lessons maybe are sort of wrapping up at this point, what we're shifting away from, but also then eventually towards something new. So it's sort of like a refresher down there, whereas, like, the North Node is sort of like an expansion. It's like a drain for the South Node and then, like, a focal point for the North Node. So let's talk about what it means. The North Node is in Taurus now, which is very exciting for me because I am Capricorn rising. So Taurus is my 5th house of fun, creativity, children, romance, anything, like, recreational that is just, like, joyous. So a lot of this next year and a half for me is going to be focused on what really brings me joy, and how do I creatively express myself. And my South Node is going into my 11th house, which represents who I do fun things with, creative endeavors in a collective sense, collective commitments of any kind, really. My friend social groups and anything to do with like groups, team sports would be up there as well. So it's very interesting. I'm so excited for this nodal shift for a lot of people. I think, so the nodes were in Sagittarius and Gemini since May of 2020, which feels like so long ago now. And just think about how much in your life, relative to the Sagittarius and Gemini placements in your chart, has changed in your life. For me, it's my 6th house of labor and my 12th house of like hidden things, self-sabotage, self-undoing, isolation. And I've really changed my relationship to my routine, which would be a 6th house thing. I've really changed my attitude towards a routine, and like when a routine is useful and why a routine is useful and what kind of routine actually benefits me versus what kind of routine actually like depletes my energy, is actually self-sabotaging 12th house themes. I also, South Node in the 12th house, realized a lot of self-sabotaging behaviors I was holding on to and was able to release those. It hit my moon, so some related to relationships. It hit my Mercury, so some related to how comfortable I feel expressing myself. Hi, hello, like I started a YouTube channel now, and that's something I think I would have been absolutely terrified to do, especially about astrology, because people be rude and hateful when it comes to talking about this stuff. So please don't do that. Anyway, the nodes are going to be here until, let's see, what's a year and a half from now? 2023 Taurus season, so mid-2023. And I really think that with the North Node in Taurus, I'll give you one prediction. When it hits Uranus, I sort of think, I don't know what exactly, but I think it'll be something related to agriculture will be very shifted, or maybe even like something related to climate change, something related to just like food supply chain will be very prominent in the news, and hopefully positive, because the North Node is a sense of expansion. So maybe there's some type of, with like Uranus representing innovation, it was discovered during the Industrial Revolution, maybe some type of innovation, maybe like lab grown meat, for example, becomes like super widespread during that time. I don't know. So the nodes, oh, I wrote something about the nodes that I wanted to share. On Tuesday, the energy just felt so different. The other thing that happened, if we go back, so when there's a little red sign by a planet, that means that it's retrograde. And right here, if we're looking at 1:53 a.m., we have Uranus retrograde. And then if we keep going, I lost it. Oh, here it is. So by midday Tuesday, Uranus is direct. The nodes have shifted. What else has happened? We just had a full moon, like opposite Pluto, the planet of transformation. Like, did Neptune go direct too? Hold on. Maybe Neptune. Neptune was already direct. I don't know what. Neptune went direct in December. Sorry, y'all, I'm tripping. But either way. Uranus going direct in Taurus is important, especially because we have the North Node there now, so this whole part of your chart is getting like heavily activated. But on top of that, we have Saturn moving direct. So this square between these two planets is going to stay pretty tight for most of 2022. And Saturn representing like restrictions, reality, just sort of like the adult shit, being squared by Uranus, the planet of innovation. We're having a hard time innovating. We're having a hard time figuring out a plan that's really going to work in a way that's going to sort of like, I don't know, be adaptable, adjustable, meet everyone's needs. Because like Uranus is all about innovation and change, but not change in like a bad way, sort of just like change in a way that you didn't expect it. Like when the first computer came out and everyone was scared of it, a lot of people are scared of Uranus because they're scared of change. which is horrible because where would we be now if we didn't embrace change, truthfully, you know? Either way, I'm sort of getting off topic now. I'm very excited for the notes. Tuesday's energy felt so different to me. I felt very fresh. I literally, like, maybe it was partially with, like, Uranus being direct, because that's in one of my angular houses for my solar return this year, but I felt very light. I felt very interested in my passions, which, like, I guess 5th house topics, and I've already had so much fun even just, you know, 5 days into this transit. So I really liked Tuesday. The same cannot be said for Wednesday. Let's talk about it. Okay, so Wednesday's energy was rank, in my opinion, like absolutely gross. I was up at like 4:30 in the morning opening a coffee shop, and it's very interesting. The most notable thing, so Moon trine Mars, yeah, and then Sun, oh, that's supposed to say Aquarius, not Capricorn. Okay, I'll fix it. I'm just gonna write Aqua. So, Monday, no. Anyway, Wednesday was rank, and I'll tell you why. So, the sun was at 29 degrees of Capricorn. And when the sun is at, or when any planet is at 29 degrees, it's called like the fated degree, the anaretic degree. It's sort of like the point where whatever the planet is in whatever sign it's in, it's going to take on those qualities, character traits, hyper, and like last minute, like do like all this shit because the planet's like, oh shit, like did I do what I need to do in the sign, you know? And then it like does it. And Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, is a very cold, sort of like, I don't know, just not super friendly sign, sort of like curt, sort of blunt, not in the way of a Sagittarius blunt where you're like, oh, but like, you know? So, I don't know, for me at least, the vibes are just very off this day. Like, I really felt the pressure to be productive. And I was like working my job, so like obviously I was, but I really felt the pressure to just like move on, do the next thing, like go, 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 you know, in a way that's like grind set capitalism and whatnot. People were also customer-wise just like rude, not very friendly, just like felt totally cool to do like the sort of, in a sense, I feel that Capricorn could be very Karen vibes, you know, where it's like they feel like that sense of like, oh, I'm going to speak to your manager, like I'm going to the authority, which is like a Saturn ruled thing, a Capricorn thing. And that was just like, not that I had any Karens come in, but just like very the energy of like a lot of people that I saw that day. So I just didn't really like Wednesday's energy. And then like with the moon trining Mars, kind of a similar thing. So the moon is still in Leo. And I guess I can move it forward a little bit more so we could see this exactly. Let's see what time it was. So, okay, right here. This is into Thursday basically. So really late. I mean, you felt it during like the entirety of the day, but like as the evening got later on Thursday, or on Wednesday, sorry, the moon was trining Mars. Mars, wherever that is in your chart, has been there since I think the end of December. And Mars is like our willpower, a sense of aggression, action, like go ahead and fucking do it type of energy. And with the moon trining that, the conversation that the moon just had with Mercury and Saturn that it was opposing, where it's like, okay, are you grounded in reality? Are you saying what you need to say? Like, are you expressing yourself in a way that's innovative and interesting with Uranus? It's now trining Mars, and it's like, well, are you gonna fucking do it then? Like, are you gonna fucking do it then? And then with the sun being like the last degree of Capricorn this day, I don't know, the energy just felt very rushed this day. And I did not want to feel rushed this day. So maybe that's like my own thing. Maybe that's a sense of like me not really knowing where, for like me with that moon transit opposite all the Aquarius planets, but also my Aquarius planets, maybe I didn't really know where to direct my energy that day, and so it was just sort of like deflating balloon noise, like, whoa, like, I don't really know. And then the pressure, it was a very pressured day is how I would describe it. So comment below if you agree. Did you feel pressured and like sort of odd on Wednesday? It felt very like anxious energy. The best thing about the day though, really late into the evening, I think it was like 9 p.m. or something. Yeah, the sun went into Aquarius like right before 9 p.m. So that's cool. Sun moving into Aquarius. Sun transits aren't super notable, but with the sun moving into Aquarius and Mercury retrograding there and Saturn there, it's a little more notable because we're going to have Mercury Cazimi come up, which is when Mercury goes on top of the sun, and then also Saturn Cazimi, same thing. And that just sort of represents a clean slate for each of the planets, especially Saturn, because this only happens, you know, once a year, but then with Mercury, it's sort of going to be like an aha moment related to whatever the Mercury retrograde represents for you. Beyond that, yeah, Wednesday was like sort of doo-doo garbage, in my humble opinion. So let's talk about Thursday. Thursday, the moon went into Virgo, and the moon went opposite Jupiter. So I'll start with what I would really recommend to do during a moon Virgo transit. Scheduling, first of all, because the moon in Virgo is ruled by Mercury. And although Mercury is retrograde right now and in Aquarius for Saturn's terms are helping because that'll help us structure and be like an adult about and serious and grounded in reality about what our schedule should be. Mercury in retrograde, not to say that you shouldn't, but you just like might adjust that schedule. Nonetheless, still a great time to schedule, regardless if there is a Mercury retrograde transit happening while Venus, or while a Virgo moon transit is happening. Scheduling is very good. On top of that, I would say anything to do with like details. Like if you're a designer or an artist, I would say plan to like maybe start your design Cancer, I guess it depends how big of a design it is, but let's say it's like a medium to small. Start your project maybe during a Taurus moon, because Taurus moons are ruled by Venus, which is beautiful, and then it's also a fixed sign, so it's all about longevity, putting in the work. Finishing it during a Virgo moon where we're focused on the details and sort of like the finer tuned aspects of things, but we're still grounded, we're still in an earth sign, we're still focused, we're still centered to some degree, maybe a little bit panicked centered, but still centered. Either way, a Virgo moon is really good for scheduling, details. I also like it for organizing some things in my house. Not, more like cleaning actually, not organizing, but like cleaning during a Virgo moon. That's what it is. Love cleaning during a Virgo moon because you're just much more able to pick up on the smaller things in your house that you would otherwise not really see, you know? So Virgo moon, and then moon opposite Jupiter. I'm not really sure how to interpret this. Like with a lunar transit, it's just gonna, depending on where Jupiter's falling in your chart, gonna bring down more of that theme for you. So let's say Jupiter is in your 7th house, like this chart, for example, you're having an expansion of partnership and like connection, and it could be romantic, platonic, or business. So maybe when the moon is going through your 1st house, going opposite that Jupiter, you're starting to have like a check-in moment. How is that person making me feel, right? Like, what is the value? What is the expansion I am getting from them? And just sort of reflecting on that. Or let's say Jupiter is in your 9th house and you're in some type of, you're learning something right now, whatever it is. The moon goes into your 3rd house of Virgo, and then you're sort of starting to think about those theories that are like expanding your mind with Jupiter in the 9th. But then what do you really think? What do you really think about all those things? Do you agree with them? I mean, it's okay if you don't, but what's the middle ground? That's what an opposition is all about. Where do you find that balance? So moon opposite Jupiter, on a collective, I would say a good time also to sort of not necessarily share our feelings, but like let our feelings be our feelings. Like you might have been really in your feelings this day. as it got, let's see, I mean, this is 8:53, so probably like halfway through the day. This went exact, but you might have felt it most of the day. Moon in Virgo doesn't really want to focus on the bigger picture. It wants to be on the details. So with an opposite Jupiter, you might have felt a little scattered too as far as your emotions and just not really quite sure maybe what you thought or felt about whatever Jupiter is expanding. But look back to these days where the moon is in Virgo and you might be able to pinpoint a little more specifically what this Jupiter transit is for you. So, all right, let's move on to Friday. Friday was a very interesting day for me. Let's move this a few hours earlier. So we had the moon still in Virgo, and while the moon was in Virgo, it, as you see with this beautiful triangle, was making a trine to Uranus, who's right here, and then also a trine to our Venus retrograde friend. And oh boy, and also squaring the sun at some point, but it's like not super relevant. Anyway, so on this day for me, interesting little story from my life, I was at a very fun place called Can Wonderland, and I lost my phone. And what's really interesting about this transit is like Uranus, which is like the planet of like chaos to some degree, like innovation, upheaval, also like technology, is trining Venus, which is very close to like my ascendant, which is my person. So I don't know, maybe that's not so much that. Maybe me losing my phone only for a brief while, I did find it if you are wondering, was maybe that was more Uranus right now is squaring loosely, like on a 2-degree orb, my Mars in my second house of things. And it did just go direct too, so maybe that was sort of the checking energy, and maybe that's why I didn't lose it completely as well. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, let's talk about it on a collective. Enough about me. So moon's still in Virgo. We're still focused on details, scheduling, planning, great time to clean. With it trining Venus, that's even better for cleaning, honestly. And I also think when the moon is trining Venus in Capricorn, Venus is all about our values and our aesthetic and so on, and just what we need, basically. So to go back to when we were talking about the full moon in Cancer and really expressing like how are we showing up for ourselves, how are we transforming ourselves, this would be the time for you to really set up those intentions with the moon in Virgo. Set that schedule. What are your expectations for yourself? And don't make them too high. Don't be a perfectionist. Don't be a Virgo. But I think at the same time, like, the most transformative relationship you can have is with yourself, right? Be innovative with how you connect to yourself. And I guess for this transit, again, look really where Venus is in your chart, like with Capricorn, but also where are your Venus houses? So where is Libra in your chart? Where is Taurus in your chart? How are those values related to those topics being adjusted during this time? And maybe on Friday, you had a lot of thoughts about that, especially with Uranus there too. Maybe on Friday, you were reflecting on your connections, your values shared with people, and how maybe you want those to change. Maybe you had a sort of lapse in judgment to some degree a few moons ago, and now you're starting to realize that you can't treat people like that, right? You can't treat yourself like that. Maybe you treated yourself badly. You've got to have boundaries. You've got to have values. You've got to have, boundaries is another great Virgo word, by the way. You've got to have a sense of who you are, what you need to feel nurtured, but also how that's dynamic and developing. Because we're only real people. We're only dynamic people if we are changing and okay with our change. So that's Friday. Besides that, if we move this a little bit later, the moon will go opposite Neptune. Personally, when the moon goes opposite Neptune, I am not a fan. Here we go. Neptune represents like blurred realities and deception, and anytime the moon is making a harsh aspect to it, like when it's in Sagittarius, it's going to make a square, same with Gemini. I just cannot think straight. Like, so this Virgo moon transit deal with all of these slow moving planets, either squaring or opposite it, is just very, very dynamic, because we're going to feel one type of way as the moon goes in on Thursday, and then by the end of the transit on Friday, shit's different. Like, we start the transit and we're like, all right, let's clean. What's our values? Like, where do we need to communicate? Whatever. And then by the end of it, we're like, la la la, like just like in a fantasy, like moon opposite Virgo, or moon and Virgo opposite Neptune and Pisces. I mean, great time to watch a movie. Great time to get lost in the sauce in like hopefully a productive way. Be careful not to over drink on this day, or recreational drugs of some kind, because I don't know, while I said boundaries is a good Virgo word, I know a lot of Virgo placements who struggle with boundaries because they're a very people-pleasing sign, right? Like, to some degree, they want to be a perfectionist, and within perfection is people liking you. So don't just do things to make other people happy, do things to make you happy. Don't just do things to get lost in the sauce so you don't have to think about your day-to-day life. Confront them. So hopefully, as these Virgo transits happen, and we've got the expansion from Jupiter, and then the squares coming from Uranus, or sorry, trines coming from Uranus, and so on, you're starting to really have a grounded sense of where you need to expand and what you need to let go of. Cool. All right. Finally, let's talk about Saturday. So Saturday, yesterday, I don't know how I felt about yesterday. It did feel very different. What I did like, what I will say, is this whole shenanigans. So first of all, is this Saturday? Yeah. Okay, yeah. First of all, on Saturday we had, and let's actually make this a little bit earlier in the day, we had the moon in Libra trining all of these lovely Aquarius placements. So I guess it was later in the day than I thought, but that's fine. Okay, so moon in Libra around 6 or 7 p.m. we got the Cazimi. I didn't even realize this happened. I thought this was next week. Well, I'll talk about it next week too, but I'll talk about it today too, I guess. So when the moon's in Libra, great time to socialize. Libra is ruled by Venus, and even though Venus is retrograde in Capricorn right now, it's still a great time to connect with people, to tell people what you value about them, to make your values very clear, to just have a balanced sense. I don't know, like I really like these like Libra moon transits to sort of help you think about, especially because it's ruled by the Venus retrograde, how your values have shifted, and being trined by the Mercury retrograde while it's Cazimi on top of the sun, so we've got a reset, an aha of what this Mercury retrograde has meant for us. It's just a really great time to be expressive about, whoa, like fuck, like what has changed? Like I am different, and now I need to like express that difference and like be conscious about that difference. Because I know for me, at least, with the Sagittarius Mercury, there's a lot of things, if I don't consciously say them, I have a really hard time, and this is the 12th house too, so probably that more so, I have a really hard time like thinking they're real if I don't say them to someone or write them like in a journal, for example. So the aha moment, what was the issue? Think about what were you focused on Saturday? What was the reoccurring thought in your head as the day went on? As the moon went into Libra and was really encouraging you to like focus on this Mercury retrograde transit, to really bring harmony and clarity to what has been reevaluating in your head. Are you scared of the truth? Are you scared of focusing on what you need to change? Because if you are, then it's not going to change. And I guess, like, congratulations, because that's what you want. But at the end of the day, you can't be scared of the outcome. Even if it's not what you wanted or what you were prepared for, maybe it's not in your fantasy. It's those last degrees of the Virgo moon. escaped away into Neptune, it got shattered. We're now in Libra, and we're balancing things. We're in the real world. Venus is in Capricorn, that's ruling that sign right now, and we're structured. We're restructuring, actually. We're restructuring. We're communicating in a way that's new and different and unconventional in Aquarius. And we're being supported with a harmonious Libra moon to make that come across in a way that is going to help you. So look where the Mercury retrograde is happening for you. So that would be Aquarius, and then moving back into Capricorn in your chart, and where Libra is in your chart. For me, Libra is in my 10th house of public, and Mercury is in my 12th, or my 2nd house of material things, and Capricorn is my 1st house. So for me, a lot of my realization has been, I can't be so worried about my material possessions, my sense of security, when it comes to my career. I need to chase what drives me, what gives me passion, what makes me feel excited every day. And then the 2nd house topics of money, for example, will chase me. It doesn't work the other way. I've learned that a lot. This Venus retrograde is, money is great to have saved. Of course, it's like absolutely essential, and like I can't just like live without like a job. I have a real job besides, I shouldn't say a real job, but I have a regular job besides talking to my computer about astrology. But I have to trust to some degree that the universe will bring me harmony, will bring me balance from this Libra moon, and support me in my endeavors creatively. Because my Venus is actually at 3 degrees of Aquarius as well, in my 5th, and it rules my 5th house of creativity and my 10th house of career and public image. So my public image does not have to be tied to money. That money can chase me as long as I am chasing what I want to do and share with the world. So we're going to end this there. I hope you got something out of this, and yeah, come back next week. I'll be talking about a lot more exciting transits. Dude, like next Tuesday, get ready. Next Tuesday is wild. There's so much stuff happening next Tuesday. So there's like a moon trine Jupiter, and then it's square the sun, and then the moon is going to be opposite Uranus, and like the Venus retrograde is going to go, or sorry, the Mercury retrograde is going to go back into Capricorn. So like in the same way that this Tuesday we had the nodal shift and all of that, there's just a lot of dynamic energy that's going to change on the 25th. So before I go, we're going to pull a card, and my cards always do this, fly out, and I've pulled the Justice card. The Justice card is all about accountability, right? Because in the law, you have to be accountable for yourself. And if we're actually being accountable for our actions, we're facing the things that are hard. And I do think that really was the energy of this week is, okay, we're shifting now. Where do you need to change? What are the lessons that you need to get from not only this nodal shift, but also this Mercury retrograde, this Venus retrograde? What is coming to the surface? I mean, with the Cancer full moon opposite Pluto, what do you need to transform about yourself? Where are you neglecting yourself? Where are you nurturing yourself? Where are you giving energy to people who don't deserve it? And what do you need to do differently related to your values and how you're communicating them? Be accountable for yourself and for other people as best as you can. Because, you know, we all live a life of humility, and not everything is going to be perfect every time. But at the end of the day, you have to try to live a fair life that's guided with harmony, right? So, all that said, thank you so much for watching my video. I appreciate you liking, maybe leave a comment, tell me how cool I am, how much you like my hat, and yeah, subscribe, follow me on Instagram, and book a reading. I would love to put your name up in this sheet right here and have all of your info displayed on the screen where we can talk about your life and what the cosmos have in store for you. Bye!